Hi, good morning, and welcome to the big debate at the LNOD Roundtable. What we normally do is get a quick show of hands to understand how many people have come in here for the first time. So, quick show of hands. All right, so you've just made the best decision of how it is that you're going to spend your Thursday morning. Right, so thank you for being here. The big debate format is easily one of the most popular formats in terms of the various learning formats that we have under the umbrella of the LNOD Roundtable. We started the LNOD Roundtable a little over 4 years ago. This is our 5th year of existence, and we kind of originated as a group of people who wanted to come in and make a difference, address a gap in terms of capability building requirements within the learning and HR fraternity, and to be able to create a forum of like-minded people who would actually come in together to be able to, or practitioners really, who would come in together to talk about real practical challenges and issues that they would be experiencing within their organizations. And what differentiated us from the others was the fact that when we started, what differentiated us, and I think we've built on that since, is the fact that we weren't just another knowledge-sharing forum. Where you know stuff that you can easily read in a book or an article, but you actually discuss real issues, share practices, create a repository of knowledge that is real knowledge, real experience-based knowledge that can be shared within the fraternity, so that we can collectively raise the bar on the HR and learning fraternity and get each individual to become ready for the new challenges within organizations. So I think this journey has taken us to many places. We started with Mumbai. We now have a chapter in Pune and in Delhi. And this year should see the Hyderabad chapter and the Bangalore chapter come in on stream as well. And I think the fact that we grew from a motley group of 13 people to a family of 6,800 people in itself is evidence of the fact that there was a requirement or a need for a forum of this kind. All of it has traveled word of mouth, and that's how more people keep coming into the forum and into the fold every passing day. And I think what sets us apart is the fact that this is a practitioners forum that allows us to be able to discuss pertinent issues that are impacting all of us back at work, and actually reflect and take back actionable ideas to our own organizations. There are a couple of formats that we have which make us differentiated and more interesting. One is the masterclass, which is professionals teaching professionals, or sometimes we have a couple of consultant friends who also join in to be able to teach professionals. But the themes are all about making certain processes and programs work. So we always talk about execution, implementation, and the nuances which sometimes miss you when you read an article or read a book or even listen to a subject matter expert. So, so Masterclass has been a very popular format. We have webinars, which is to be able to reach a much larger audience because we have members who are from outside the country as well, and those from locations which don't yet have an LNOD chapter. Some of the formats on Masterclass that have been very interesting has been the LNOD Insight, which is 7 speakers, 17 minutes, which is like a TED format to be able to actually share rapid fire, some very quick thoughts which are relevant to people within the industry. The big debate is about being able to put out some real contentious themes within the four walls, okay, or within our safe four walls. We can actually discuss some of these issues which we may not want to discuss outside, but we want to be able to reflect on these and confront some of the truths emerging from these themes and maybe bust some of the myths that are going around these themes. So we've had themes like, does India Inc. have a middle management crisis? That was a very interesting debate. It probably concluded somewhere around India Inc. has a leadership crisis more than a middle management crisis. But notwithstanding that, it led us to talk about issues like the obsession for promotions, issues like prematurely getting people into leadership roles, the price that corporate India is actually paying for the dynamics in the market and the so-called war for talent. So we've had contentious issues of these kinds that we've discussed. Last time we spoke about taking the mask off training and development, learning without transfer. Does that make sense at all inside organizations? And I think these are the kind of themes which we typically not be able to discuss with our customers or the recipients of our services, but we can talk about it as a group of practitioners who have possibly reflected on some of these themes in your solitude. But, or you've discussed it in smaller groups, but you don't know what the larger think on that particular theme might really be, and whether there are indeed any solutions around some of these challenges, which some of us may be trapped into as practitioners. Besides, we've been conducting studies from time to time. We started with the Best Learning Organizations of Asia study in 2010. That was followed by the Best Change Interventions of Asia study that culminated in a book called Switch, How 12 Indian Companies Manage Change Successfully. We have copies here in case you'd like to take them back. These are the 12 winning organizations and winning entries from the Best Change Interventions of Asia study. Last year, we had a seminar which concluded their 2013-14 study called the Best Talent Management Practices of Asia. And that will also soon find its way into a book called the Best Talent Management Practices of Asia. And the study for this year has been called the Best Leadership Practices of Asia. And I'm going to spend some time with you on the categories within this study. There is no price, so there's no fee, administrative fee for entering the study. We just want to open it up to an organization of any size, small-scale organization, medium-sized organizations, whoever is doing great work. We want to be able to hear from you, and we'll talk to you about that study in a bit. So, the Best Leadership Development Practice of Asia study 2015. We are asking for entries in 4 categories. Best Cadres Development Programs of Asia. So essentially the best entry-level leadership development programs that you run inside your organization, best first-time manager development programs, best CXO leadership team development programs. So what kind of stuff you're doing at the entry level, what are you doing at the high potential level, what are you doing at the CXO leadership level, and the best high performer, high potential development future leaders program that you might be running. What kind of practices do you have around it? How are you actually grooming leaders for the future? Notwithstanding succession planning, what are you doing to actually prepare successors and building talent inside your organization? We'd like to hear from you, and if you have great stories to tell, then you merit a place in the next seminar that is planned for September of 2015. If you merit a place as a speaker and a contender for the award, then your organization especially is not allowed to sponsor the LNOD Roundtable seminar. We possibly run the most, we are the highest on credibility in terms of our awards because they are judged by an independent jury that don't even meet or speak to each other. There's independent evaluation, and we actually use cumulative scoring to be able to arrive at which organizations are finally the winning entries, and winning entry organizations present their best practice and also are essentially make sure that they win some of the other award at the end of the day and get featured in the book the book would typically be titled around the theme of the study, right? So I'm going to encourage you to be able to, if you're a consultant, please get your client organizations to participate. If you're an organization that's doing great work in any of these 4 areas, we'd like to hear from you. To encourage you to be able to come forth and give us your ideas. We want to feature you, we want to be able to present you, we want people to learn from you. So do participate in the best leadership development practices of Asia. For this session today, we are tweeting with the hashtag LNOD Roundtable. So those of you who would like to tweet as we go along during today's session, please feel free to be able to do that. In fact, we'd like more of that. Today's debate is going to throw up some very, very contentious issues and challenges and solutions, hopefully. But most importantly, it's going to drive a lot of serious reflection, I'm hoping. So the theme itself is contentious. Asleep at the wheel has HR lost its way into copycat best practices. We're going to reflect on something which is contentious. In the privacy of our hearts, some of us have asked ourselves some serious questions about some of the stuff when you're actually doing it. But it seems to be the power of course, and therefore we're going to try and look at and reflect on how seriously, what constitutes best practices, how seriously do we consider integrating best practices to what is strategically important inside our organizations, or are we all just riding a happy bandwagon? And I think those are the kind of questions we're going to look at during the course of today, and to be able to help me and help us explore this important contentious theme. I've got a very, very powerful jury. But before I call upon, panelists. Before I call upon these panelists, I've got my partner in crime here, Adil. Adil, is there anything you'd like to say to the group?
I think I have spoken so much that there's hardly anything remaining to be spoken on the same theme at all possible forums. So formally welcome. Sujay has said everything that needs to be said. All learning is about reflective learning, so we need to learn from what people tell us and understand what we need to reflect back, and that's very critical to all kinds of learning. So let's hear all the powerful guys who have been doing all great things and try and see what best we can take back home. But I always say that potted plants don't really make gardens. So don't just meaninglessly emulate a best practice if it does not gel with the culture and the soil of your organization. Because these practices need to get absolutely embedded into the culture of your enterprise, only then it is sustainable. So try and find out that what was the prevailing culture and what was the need that made all of these best practices come live in these companies. And then pick the quintessence of that and take it back to the culture of your enterprise. I think that's the way we should look at it.
Thank you, Adil. Thank you. So I'm going to now invite our high-power panelists. Please put your hands together. I don't think any of them require an introduction really, but please put your hand together for Dr. Chandrasekhar. Dr. Chandrasekhar, please can you come in and join us? He's the global head of HR of Dr. Reddy's laboratory. He's held very many large positions. I consider him my guru. I have actually learned from Dr. Chandrasekhar when he used to be, can you take the furthermost chair, sir? Yeah. I kind of was fascinated when I heard him. We had a session on culture, building organizational culture. And a couple of other things that I've heard Dr. Chandrasekhar speak on. I think he's easily, one of the foremost thought leaders with some of the very seminal work that he's done across various organizations throughout his career. So thank you, Dr. Chandrasekhar, for agreeing to come here. He's coming all the way from Hyderabad. Please give him a round of applause for coming here and joining us today. And next, I'd like to invite a very dear friend and someone who's on our governing council, constantly inspiring us, and very, very outstanding professional, very, very outstanding human being. Please put your hands together for Prince Augustine. Prince is the executive director and the head of leadership. He leads leadership development for the Mahindra Group, for those of you who don't know these details. But Prince is a very, the next chair, thank you. He's a very prominent HR professional with over 20 years of experience in the area of HR, has worked for very many leading organizations even before Mahindra. I'm going to next ask you to put your hands together for Vikram Bector, very dear friend and the Chief Talent Officer of the Reliance Group. Vikram again has a very outstanding career. He's been with Satyam earlier, he's been with Tata Motors earlier as the Chief Learning Officer and now Chief Talent Officer of the Reliance Group. He's exceedingly well articulated. He's is exceedingly insightful individual and a very popular speaker even globally. We both spoke at a conference in Singapore, and I could see how popular Vikram Vector is, even on international forums. And then last but not the least, very dear friend and also someone who's always bubbling with new ideas, with new insights. She's a recipient of very many HR awards and accolades. Her organization has always been forefront in submitting entries to all our studies because of the kind of outstanding work she and her team deliver in her various assignments. She's currently with Lafarge and I think spends most of her time in Paris. But notwithstanding that, my friend and a very dear colleague, Aparna Sharma. Please put your hands together for Aparna. So first of all, thank you very, very much for making the time to be here. I'm sure it's not easy to agree or accept to be on a debate of this kind. I'm going to try and take a couple of minutes to explain to the audience how this will work. So I will essentially pose questions to the panelists. We will have two discussion threads, after which I'll turn it over to the audience. So please make notes as you're going along the two discussion threads. So we will have conversations with each one of them across the two discussion threads, and then I will open it up to the audience. Please feel free to be able to come back and give me your remarks, give me your opinions, give me your ideas, give me your insights on both the discussion threads as we open it up to you. Feel free to ask questions at the mid-time break. We don't have a break as in we're not going off for tea, but the break that we take to be able to involve the audience round. So please feel free to ask the panelists questions during that time. We will then go back to the audience with two more discussion threads, and we'll open it up one more time to the audience. All right, is that fair? So as we're going along, I want you to be able to please take notes and stay with me. I'm going to start by reflecting on the evolution of the human resources function to start with. Right from the way in which human resources were delivered during the industrial era. When we started with the where essentially the prominent deliveries were in the area of employee relations and transactions like timekeeping and payroll and those kind of transactions. And that really was what constituted expectations from HR. To eventually, involving HR or making HR responsible for development and human capital development and skill development inside organizations, where we kind of moved on to be able to re-christen ourselves human resource development and so on and so forth, to human resources management, which were kind of brought in many more aspects of proactively getting involved with agendas of culture building, change, transformation, and so on, to what Dave Woolridge did for the community over a decade ago, where he said, HR is a strategic business partner. And I think that evolution everyone has been aware of. I think clearly in the last decade, the expectation from human resources and human resources managers has undergone a significant change. And particularly if you look at future trends and predictions in the area of HR, clearly the world of work is changing. There are tremendous forces that are influencing the world of work. It is also changing our relationship with work. And therefore, the group that provides support and services to people to manage their relationship with work will also and has also undergone a significant change over a period of time. There are huge forces that are actually influencing organizations through increased employee expectations. There is a huge amount of disruption caused by technology. There's increased globalization. And there's a huge pressure on organizations to get more agile, especially with the tumultuous kind of business environment that is still struggling to be able to settle down. In an environment like this, clearly the old industrial era practices of HR are not going to work. And HR desperately needs to reinvent themselves. And if you look at what most consultants and surveyors and thought leaders in the area of HR are saying, is one common theme, which is HR needs to desperately reinvent itself. If it wants to truly be the strategic business partner, it needs to look at many other issues other than what it is that it's doing right now. And this despite over 10 years of Dave Woolridge telling us strategic business partner and seat on the table and the whole 9 years. I have a couple of data points that I wanted to share with the panelists and with the audience right at the start. Here is Jack Fitz, founder of Human Capital Source, and he's saying it's time for the C-suite to forget tradition. Organizations should pull apart HR departments and place pieces where they fit naturally. And I think there's already a trend to be able to start seeing HR move off to brand, a part wherever HR can't handle it. Part of HR employer branding is increasingly moving off to brands, to marketing, to other areas which are not being, because HR is not being seen as up to speed to be able to understand or manage some of these issues. It's not uncommon in organizations to some of these strategic parts moving to corporate planning wings or to strategic planning wings because they're not seeing HR as up to speed to be able to do this. He says we have patched together a function that isn't working very well. So what essentially some of the leaders within industry are saying is that what we've put together as all the functions within the HR department are easily stuff that ought to be done in different parts of the organization and should not be sitting under the same umbrella. I'm going to share some more with you. Here's Robert Bolton, partner of KPMG, and he's saying HR has relentlessly pursued best practices and generic models with a blind eye to business strategies or even industries. This never-ending chase of best practices and copycat models has put HR in a doom cycle. To my mind, HR has got to break out of that or die. Here's Mark Efron from the Talent Strategy Group. He's saying it's lovely to talk about business partners.